The cap flew off my head like a gunshot in the wind, tumbling into the crowd of cheering families below the stage, but no one reached for it. No one from my side of the bleachers, anyway. "Christian, you're a disgrace." My father's voice had hissed into the phone that morning, the last words I'd hear from him before the ceremony, cutting deeper than any knife. As the dean called my name for summa cum laude, the spotlight burned my skin, but the empty seats where my family should have been felt like a void swallowing the whole damn world. I stood there, frozen under the arena lights of Milford University's Coliseum, the roar of applause from strangers crashing over me like waves on a jagged shore. It was May in Ohio, the kind of sticky spring evening where the air hummed with cicadas and the faint scent of cut grass from the fields beyond campus. I'd worked 4 years for this, nights buried in psych textbooks, days slinging coffee at the campus cafe to pay for it all, only to graduate alone. My mom had texted a vague, "Proud of you, but we can't," and my older brother, Ethan, hadn't even bothered to respond. Dad, radio silence since that call. Being gay wasn't just a phase to them. It was a betrayal, a stain on the family name in our tight-knit, Bible Belt suburb of Milford, where Sunday services at First Baptist were non-negotiable, and love the sinner, hate the sin, was the polite way of saying get out. But then, from the edge of the sea of black gowns, I spotted him. Jonathan Hale, weaving through the chaos like he owned the place, his grin splitting his face wide enough to light up the dimming sky. Johnny. My Johnny. The guy who'd crashed into my life 2 years ago during a brutal winter storm, when we'd both ended up snowed in at the library, trading bad jokes over lukewarm vending machine coffee. He wasn't family, not by blood, but in that moment, as he pushed a bouquet of wild sunflowers into my hands, my favorite, because they reminded me of the fields back home he'd never seen. He was the only anchor I had. "Couldn't let you do this solo, Chris," he murmured, pulling me into a hug that smelled like his cedar cologne and fresh laundry, right there in front of God and everybody. Whispers rippled through the nearby grads, but Johnny didn't care. He never did. That's what I loved about him, his unapologetic fire in a world that tried to snuff out sparks like ours. We were the same age, both 22, but where I was all quiet storms and overthinking, Johnny was lightning, bold, electric, impossible to ignore. Son of a single mom who ran the local diner, he was studying journalism, always chasing stories about the underdogs, the ones Milford's old guard pretended didn't exist. We slipped out of the Coliseum amid the post-ceremony buzz, dodging air horns and tearful parent selfies. The sun dipped low, painting the campus quad in that hazy amber glow that made everything feel possible, even if it was a lie. Johnny laced his fingers through mine as we walked toward his beat-up Ford pickup, parked crookedly under the oaks. "Your folks are idiots," he said, not mincing words, his Texas drawl slipping through despite 2 years in Ohio winters. He'd moved here from Austin on a scholarship, chasing the real America, as he called it, the heartland grit that hid more secrets than it let on. I laughed, but it came out hollow, scraping my throat. "Yeah, well, Dad's got his legacy to protect. Mayor's office ain't forgiving of deviance, as he puts it. My father, Robert Hayes, wasn't just any dad. He was the golden boy of Milford politics, 2 terms as city councilman and now eyeing the mayor's seat in the fall. Church elder, Little League coach, the guy who barbecued ribs for the 4th of July block party like it was his civic duty. Coming out to them last summer, right after Johnny and I made it official, had been like dropping a bomb in a library. Mom cried for days. Ethan called me confused. And Dad? He delivered the ultimatum. Fix this, or you're on your own. We climbed into the truck, the engine rumbling to life with a cough that matched my mood. Johnny cranked the AC. Ohio May was no joke, and tuned the radio to some indie station playing Bon Iver, all aching acoustics that mirrored the knot in my chest. Where to, graduate? Lake Mercer? That dive bar on Elm with the killer wings. I leaned my head against the window, watching the campus blur by, dorm towers I'd soon leave behind. The quad where Johnny had first kissed me under a full moon, fireworks from some frat party exploding overhead like fate's cruel joke. Anywhere but home. God, Johnny, what if this is it? What if they never? Stop. He cut me off gently, one hand on the wheel, the other squeezing my knee. You're Christian freaking Hayes. Valedictorian, psych whiz, the guy who volunteers at that LGBTQ youth center in Columbus every weekend. They don't get to define you. We don't let them. We. That word hit like sunlight through storm clouds. Johnny had become my we after that library night. 6 hours of debating Freud versus Foucault, snow piling up outside, until he leaned over and said, "You talk like you carry the world's weight. Let me help." 6 months later, we were inseparable, study dates turning into midnight drives, his hand in mine at pride parades in the city, stolen moments in his tiny apartment off campus where we'd talk dreams until dawn. He knew my fears, the internalized shame from years of Dad's man-up sermons, the what-ifs about a future without family. And I knew his, the absent dad who'd bailed when he was 10, the mom who'd worked doubles to keep them afloat, the chip on his shoulder about proving he belonged. By the time we hit Lake Mercer, the sky was bruising purple, fireflies winking like tiny rebellions against the dark. We spread a blanket on the dock, the same one where we'd carved our initials last fall, hidden under the weathered boards, and cracked open a 6-pack of craft IPAs from the brewery in town. The water lapped soft against the pilings, and for a while, it was just us. Johnny's head on my shoulder, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my arm, the world shrinking to this bubble of warmth. "Tell me something good," he whispered, his breath tickling my ear. I thought of the psych paper I'd just defended, on resilience in marginalized communities, drawing from my own fractured edges. I got an offer from Northwestern for grad school. Full ride. His whoop echoed across the lake, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like hops and hope. Slow, deep, the kind that said we're in this. But even as his lips moved against mine, doubt gnawed. What good was a degree, a boyfriend like Johnny, if my blood family saw me as a ghost? As the stars pricked the sky, I buried the ache, letting Johnny's laughter chase it away. For tonight, at least, I was whole. Little did I know, the real storm was brewing, not from my family, but from the secrets they'd buried deeper than I ever imagined. Secrets that would drag Milford into the light, forcing us all to face the lies we'd lived by. The weeks after graduation blurred into a humid haze of job hunts and apartment hunts, Johnny and I crashing at his mom's place above the diner while we figured out our next move. Milford wasn't exactly a launch pad, cornfields as far as the eye could see, a main street lined with mom and pops clinging to life amid the Walmart exodus. But it was home, for better or worse, and leaving felt like admitting defeat. I'd landed interviews in Columbus, psych counseling gigs at clinics that served queer kids, the kind of work that lit a fire in me. Johnny, meanwhile, was freelancing for the local paper, the Milford Gazette, chasing leads on City Hall corruption like it was his personal crusade. One muggy afternoon in June, as thunderheads gathered over the soybeans, I got the call that cracked the facade. It was Ethan, my brother, voice tight as a drum. "Chris, Dad's announcing his mayoral run tonight at the VFW Hall. Mom wants you there. Clean slate, okay? Just act normal." Normal. The word twisted in my gut like barbed wire. Act normal. Code for shoving Johnny into the closet, smiling through Dad's stump speech on family values. I'd spent years doing that, faking interest in girls at youth group, dodging questions about dating, swallowing the guilt that came from wanting what I wanted. Coming out had been liberation and exile in one breath. But Mom's plea tugged, her soft southern lilt, the woman who'd baked my birthday cakes with extra frosting roses because she knew I was artistic. I hung up, staring at my phone like it was a grenade. Johnny was at the diner's counter, typing furiously on his laptop, grease from a half-eaten fry dotting the keys. "Your face says family drama," he said without looking up, that reporter's intuition sharp as ever. I slid onto the stool beside him, stealing a fry. "Dad's campaign kickoff. They want me there." Like nothing happened. He closed the laptop slow, eyes narrowing. "And you want to go? After they ghosted your graduation?" "It's not that simple, Johnny. Ethan's got kids now, little Emma's 4, asks about Uncle Chris all the time. Mom sounds wrecked." I rubbed my temples, the migraine brewing like the storm outside. "Maybe if I show up, play nice, we can talk. Really talk." Johnny's jaw ticked, the muscle jumping under his stubble. He wasn't out to his mom yet. Timing, he said, with her health scare last year. But he got it, the pull of blood over choice. "Fine. but I'm your plus one. No way you're facing that lion's den solo. The VFW hall smelled like stale beer and American flags, red, white, and blue bunting draped over folding tables laden with deviled eggs and Jell-O salads. Milford's finest turned out in force. Farmers in starched Wranglers, church ladies with perms teased high, the Rotary Club shaking hands like it was a contact sport. Dad held court at the podium, silver hair gleaming under the fluorescence, his baritone booming about, restoring Milford's moral compass, amid applause that drowned my doubts. I spotted Mom first, perched on the front row, her floral dress a shield, eyes red-rimmed but hopeful. Ethan beside her, arm around his wife, their toddler squirming in a booster seat. No seat for Johnny. He hung back by the punch bowl, nursing a ginger ale, his presence a quiet rebellion in khakis and a button-down that hugged his broad shoulders just enough to turn heads. Dad's speech wrapped with a flourish. For our families, for our faith, for the future. And the crowd surged forward. I wove through, heart hammering, until Mom enveloped me in a hug that smelled like lavender and regret. "Oh, honey," she whispered, clutching my lapels. "We missed you so much up there." "Yeah, well." I trailed off, throat thick. Ethan clapped my back too hard, muttering, "Good to see you, bro," but his eyes darted to Johnny like he was a live wire. Dad approached last, handshake firm, smile practiced. "Christian, appreciate you coming." No apology, no warmth, just the politician's gloss over the wound. The reception dragged. Small talk with councilmen about youth outreach. Mom pressing a Tupperware of cookies into my hands. Johnny charmed his way through, cracking jokes with the bartender, but I caught the strain in his laugh. As the night wound down, Dad pulled me aside near the exit, his voice low. "Son, this city's changing. Gentrification from Columbus, kids leaving for jobs. We need strong leadership, traditional values. You understand?" I nodded, while rising. "What about my values, Dad? Or do they not count?" His face hardened, the mask slipping. "This isn't about you. It's about legacy. Your grandfather built this town, fought in Korea, raised us right. Don't throw it away on distractions. Distractions. Johnny, our life, reduced to that." I walked out shaking, Johnny's arms slipping around my waist in the parking lot, steadying me as rain finally broke loose. That night, in the cab of his truck idling outside the diner, he confronted me. "You okay? You looked like you were gonna bolt." I stared at the wipers slashing rain. "He called you a distraction. Like loving you is some phase I'll outgrow." Johnny's hands stilled on the gearshift. Silence stretched, heavy as the downpour. Then, "Chris, there's something I need to tell you. About my story, the one I've been digging on City Hall." My pulse spiked. Johnny's big scoop had been his white whale for months. Whispers of embezzlement, backroom deals tying Dad's allies to shady developers. "What?" "Spill." He exhaled slow. "It's bigger than money. There's a file, sealed court docs from '92. Involves your dad. And a guy named Elias Grant." Elias. The name landed like a punch. Grandpa Hayes had mentioned him once, a family friend who'd moved away sudden-like after high school. Dad's best buddy, inseparable until they weren't. Johnny's eyes met mine, grave. "Elias was gay, Chris. And your dad. They were more than friends. The files got letters, photos, proof they were in love. But something happened. Elias sued for harassment after your dad outed him to the whole town to save face. It got buried, but it's resurfacing now." The world tilted. Rain hammered the roof like accusations. My father, the pillar of virtue, had a secret that mirrored mine? Betrayed his first love to climb the social ladder? Why tell me now? Because it's gonna blow up. Sources say Ethan's law firm is suppressing it for the campaign. And your family, they're lying to you, to everyone. You deserve the truth before it hits the fan. I shoved the door open, stumbling into the storm, rain soaking me through. How could this be? Dad, preaching tolerance while wielding it like a weapon? The hypocrisy burned, hot as shame. Johnny followed, grabbing my arm. "Chris, wait." "No." I whirled, voice breaking. "You think dropping this makes it better? My life's already a wreck because of him, and now you're saying he did worse." "It's not about worse. It's about patterns. He hurt Elias like he's hurting you, out of fear. But you can break it." I yanked free, chest heaving. Or maybe I'm just like him, hiding behind legacy, while the people I love get collateral damage. Johnny's face crumpled, rain streaking his cheeks. That's not you. That's his poison talking. I drove home alone that night. Johnny's truck stayed parked, a silent sentinel. Sleep evaded me, mind reeling through memories. Dad's old yearbook photos, two boys arm in arm at prom, Elias's smile brighter than the flashbulbs. The lies stacked like bricks, walling off any chance at reconciliation. By dawn, resolve hardened. I'd confront him, demand answers. But deep down, terror gnawed. What if the truth shattered us beyond repair? Little did I know, the real fracture was coming from within, a betrayal that would test not just family ties, but the fragile thread holding Johnny and me together. July in Milford meant county fairs and fireflies, but for me, it was a pressure cooker of unspoken accusations. I'd ghosted Dad after the VFW bombshell, dodging Mom's voicemails with excuses about settling into the new place. Johnny and I had signed a lease on a one-bedroom in Columbus, neutral ground, a fresh start, but the drive there felt like fleeing a crime scene. His revelation hung between us like smoke, thickening every conversation. He'd apologize with coffee runs and back rubs, but I could see the guilt etching lines around his eyes. I should have told you sooner, he'd say, and I'd wave it off, because who was I to judge secrets? Mine had nearly cost me everything. Work started fast. Me at the youth center, counseling teens who'd email anonymously about crushes that scared them spitless. Johnny freelanced remotely, but his Gazette gig kept him tethered to Milford, chasing the Elias story like a dog with a bone. It's Pulitzer bait, he'd joke, but I heard the edge, the ambition that sometimes blinded him to the fallout. The first crack came mid-month, over takeout Thai in our shoebox apartment. The AC wheezed against the heat, fans stirring the scent of lemongrass and regret. Johnny's laptop glowed on the coffee table, tabs open to digitized archives, faded scans of love letters in Dad's looping scrawl, Elias's photo, dark curls, eyes like storm clouds, a grin that echoed Johnny's in a way that twisted my gut. You stare at that like it'll bite, I said, poking at my pad CEW. He closed the screen, sighing, just piecing it together. Elias moved to San Francisco after the lawsuit, died of AIDS in '95, before the cocktails. Your dad never reached out. Buried it all. AIDS. The word landed heavy, conjuring ghosts of the '80s epidemics I'd studied. Stigma weaponized, lives erased. Dad, who'd railed against urban decay in his speeches, had condemned the man he loved to silence. And Ethan's firm? They're lawyering it up to keep this quiet. Johnny nodded, jaw tight. Threatened my editor with libel if we run it. But I've got backups. Elias's sister's willing to talk on record. Says your dad promised to come out with him, then flipped when his folks threatened to cut him off. I pushed my plate away, appetite gone. So what now? You publish, and my family's radioactive. Dad loses the election, Mom spirals, Ethan hates me forever. Or you talk to him first. Give him a chance to own it. Johnny's hand covered mine, warm and sure. You're not Elias, Chris. You don't have to repeat the cycle. But doubt festered. That weekend, I drove back to Milford alone. Johnny had a deadline, steel in my spine. Elias's letters printed and folded in my glove box like ammunition. The family home loomed on Elm Street. A colonial two-story with the flagpole Dad polished weekly, hydrangeas blooming defiant in the heat. Mom answered the door, flour-dusted apron over her jeans, surprise blooming into tears. Christian, I thought, come in, honey. Your father's at the office. We sat in the kitchen, the one where she'd taught me to bake apple pie, sunlight slanting through gingham curtains. Over iced tea, the dam broke, her apologies tumbling out, laced with I love you, but this lifestyle. I cut her off gentle. Mom, it's not a lifestyle. It's me. And Dad, he's got secrets too. About Elias. Her glass clattered, tea spilling like blood. Color drained from her face. Who told you that name? Doesn't matter. It's true, isn't it? He loved him, and ruined him to fit in here. She crumpled, hands twisting a dish rag. It was ancient history when we met. He swore it was a mistake, youthful confusion. Said Elias led him on, then blackmailed with that suit. I believed him. Had to for the family. Her voice cracked. When you came out, it brought it all back. Like history repeating. He panicked. Thought you'd drag us down like Elias tried to. Tried to. The revisionist spin made me ill. Elias didn't try anything. Dad outed him to save himself. And now he's doing the same to me. The front door slammed. Dad home early, suit rumpled, eyes sharpening on the scene. What's this? He loomed in the doorway, sensing the ambush. I stood, papers thrust forward. Read them. Your words, Dad. To the man you loved and betrayed. He snatched the stack, scanning lines. My dearest Eli, in this town of shadows, you're my son. Face paling to ash. Where did you get? Doesn't matter. Why hide it? Why hurt me like you hurt him? Rage flared, papers crumpling in his fist. You think this is the same? I was a kid scared. Elias wanted to parade it, ruin my future. I protected us. And you flaunt this with that reporter boy, digging up graves for clicks. Ethan's already fielding calls. Your brother's career's on the line. Ethan, I'd forgotten. In the fury, the brother who'd always been Dad's mini-me, law degree fresh, firm booming with corporate clients. So it's about Ethan now? Not me. Mom intervened, voice shrill. Robert, enough. He's our son. But Dad was a freight train. Our son chose this path. And now he's sabotaging mine. Get out, Christian, before you destroy everything. I left with the door's echo ringing in my ears, tires screeching down Elm as sobs racked me. Betrayal wasn't just Dad's lie. It was the complicity, the way love twisted into leverage. Back in Columbus, Johnny held me through the night, but Dawn brought the knife. A text from an unknown number. Saw your boy at the fair. Cute. Too bad his mom's dying of cancer. Maybe ease up on the family attacks? My blood froze. Johnny's mom, her health scare was breast cancer, stage 3, in remission but fragile. How? I confronted him over breakfast, phone thrust under his nose. Who the hell is this? You leak her condition. His face drained. Chris, no, I swear. Maybe Ethan's PI? I didn't. Liar. The word escaped, venomous. In my pain, every shadow looked like deceit. You chased the story, consequences be damned. Just like Dad. He recoiled, hurt flashing. That's not fair. I'm fighting for truth, for you. Truth? Or your byline? I stormed out, slamming the door on his pleas. The center waited, kids needing me steady, but I was unraveling, threads of trust fraying. Days blurred, ignored calls from Johnny, voicemails from Mom pleading, reconciliation dinner. Then, the high-octane text from Ethan. Gazette runs the story tomorrow. Dad's pulling out of the race. Your fault. Panic surged. I'd never wanted this. Ruin, just reckoning. But as sirens wailed in the distance, a call from Johnny pierced the chaos. Chris, meet me at the VFW. Now, it's bigger than we thought. Heart pounding, I raced back to Milford, the storm of my making closing in. The twist wasn't just Dad's past. It was the present unraveling, a betrayal from the one place I'd thought safe. The VFW parking lot was a madhouse under sodium lights, news vans jockeying like sharks, reporters barking into mics about, hey, scandal. Johnny's truck idled at the curb, hazards flashing, but he wasn't inside. I parked crooked, pulse thundering, and pushed through the throng. Cameras swinging my way, a mic thrust under my chin. Christian Hayes? Comment on your father's withdrawal. I shoved past, bursting into the hall where the air hung thick with cigarette ghosts and desperation. The stage was set for Dad's emergency presser, but instead, a lone figure paced. Elias's sister, Margaret Grant, 60s and steel-haired, clutching a manila envelope like a talisman. Johnny stood beside her, face drawn, eyes locking on mine with a plea. Chris, thank God. He crossed to me in 3 strides, hands hovering like he feared I'd bolt. Elias's family came forward. Full story. Your dad's not just pulling out. He's confessing. Confessing? The word echoed absurd. Dad, the unflappable Robert Hayes, bearing his soul? Margaret turned, her gaze softening the accusation I'd braced for. You're the spitting image of him at your age. And Eli adored that boy, wrote about Robert like he hung the moon. She handed me the envelope. More letters, yellowed photos. Dad and Elias at 17, arms slung casual, but eyes screaming us. A beach trip to Lake Erie, grins wide against the waves. One snapshot gutted me. Them kissing under a pier, candid and stolen, joy raw as an open wound. Why now? I rasped, throat dry. Margaret's voice steadied. Eli's birthday. And this town. It's time. Robert reached out last week. Begged me not to let Johnny run it raw. Said he owed you the truth first. Dad reached out. To her. Not me. The sting bloomed fresh, but Johnny's hand on my arm grounded it. He called me too. Told me to back off. But I pushed. Said you'd never forgive suppression. Then he broke. Admitted everything. The outing. The regret. How you're coming out forced the mirror. The doors banged open. Dad striding in, flanked by Ethan and Mom. His face a map of defeat. Eyes hollow. Suit askew. Reporters piled in behind. Cameras whirring to life. He mounted the stage without notes. Voice cracking over the mic. Milford, I've led you these years believing strength meant hiding weakness. But tonight, I face mine. The room hushed, a collective inhale. He spoke of Elias. First love in a town that brooked no deviation. The terror of discovery. The cowardice that birthed the lie. I outed him to save myself, and it cost him everything. My son, Christian, standing here now, pays for my sins. He came out brave, and I failed him, just as I failed Eli. For that, I withdraw from the race. Not as punishment, but as amends. Gasps rippled, flashes popped like gunfire. Mom wept openly, Ethan's arm around her, his face a storm of conflict. But Dad wasn't done. Christian, if you're watching, I'm proud of the man you are, not the one I tried to mold. Come home, please. The feed cut to live stream. The whole city glued to screens, from diner counters to living rooms. Johnny's doing. His editor greenlighting the broadcast despite the heat. Milford watched its pillar crumble, not in schadenfreude, but revelation. Secrets weren't shields, but shackles. I stood numb as the crowd dissolved into murmurs, reporters swarming Dad. Johnny pulled me aside, voice low. I held the story back until he could say it himself. No byline, no glory, just truth. You. Why didn't you tell me? The earlier accusation echoed hollow now, my betrayal the real wound. Fear of losing you. But Chris, I love you, flaws, fights all. And your family's not the enemy. The silence was. Tears blurred him, but I pulled him close, the hall fading to our bubble. I'm sorry for doubting. You're my truth, Johnny. Outside, the lot emptied to a drizzle of stars. Dad waited by his Buick, alone, Mom and Ethan giving space. He approached slow, hands empty. Son. No words came easy. I thought of Elias's joy in that photo, the life stolen, my own, reclaimed in Johnny's arms. You hurt us both. But I get fear. Doesn't excuse it. He nodded, tears carving tracks. I know. Therapy, starting tomorrow. For me, for us. If you'll have me. I glanced at Johnny, his nod subtle. One step. Dinner next week. No speeches. Relief cracked his facade. A smile, tentative. Deal. The drive back to Columbus was quiet, Johnny's hand in mine. Radio humming Springsteen. Trapped in the belly of the beast. Milford buzzed behind us, social media erupting. Op-eds praising Dad's courage. Youth center calls spiking from kids inspired. The twist wasn't destruction. It was dominoes falling toward light. One family's fracture mending a community's. Months later, at the lakeside dock under harvest moon, Johnny and I walked the planks we'd carved initials into. Fireflies danced, water whispering secrets. He dropped to one knee. Not ring, but a keychain. 2 sunflowers entwined, engraved we. Not forever yet, but our forever starts here. I pulled him up, kiss sealing it. Tender, fierce, the romantic heart of us amid the scars. Family mended slow, dinners with awkward laughs. Ethan admitting his own doubts. Mom baking pies with pride flags in the crust. Dad even volunteered at the center, awkward but earnest. Milford watched, learned, grew. And in that watching, we all found grace. Not in perfection, but in the messy, human unraveling of lies. Love, it turned out, wasn't the battlefield. It was the bridge across.